Welcome to Construction Week Viewpoint. My name is Oscar Russo, and today we're reviewing the latest round of economic reforms announced by the UAE, which includes pumping billions of dollars into Abu Dhabi's economy and allowing expats to retire in the Seven Emirates. Joining me to dissect the developments is Jack Ball, Construction Week senior reporter. Jack, good to have you here. It's been a really exciting time now that September's kicked into gear with another round of legislative and economic reforms.
No, it's great to be here, Oscar. Thank you for having me. The summer recess, so to speak, is truly over, and we're seeing some really exciting moves coming out.
Exactly, it really seems to have picked up the pace, and let's start off by talking about Gadan 21, also known as the 2021 Development Strategy, announced in Abu Dhabi. Now, it's a $5.4 billion development that was approved by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, and it focuses on driving up business and investment, focusing on improvements in society, knowledge and innovation, and lifestyle transformations. Now, it's a wide-ranging policy. Set to be launched in 2019, covering a 3-year period. Now, we expect it to boost real estate development, support renewable energy and infrastructure projects in the UAE capital. Now, some of the projects or the plans for the project that have been announced so far include housing developments will be launched and infrastructure improvements across transport, communications, urban development as well. And I think under the plan that was announced on 16 September, there will be 50 initiatives launched under phase 1 of the strategy. Now, all of this is about supporting business growth, injecting capital into the Abu Dhabi economy to make it more resilient, as of course, the UAE drives this kind of move away from, oil to become a non-oil economy. And it's just kind of the latest round of developments that have been kicked off, and I think it's really exciting.
Really positive moves, and again, it does mirror some of the other initiatives that we're seeing across the region. I think more generally, Saudi Vision 2030 is, some of the strands are fairly similar, I think, and particularly around the infrastructure alignment or the angle of this project. I think we're seeing that in Saudi as well.
Yeah, of course, and I think as well, it's still early days for the project, for Tomorrow 21 or Gadan 2021, and we're yet to see the project get off the ground. As we mentioned, the budget and the capital will start, being pumped into the economy from 2019. So really what this strategy is about setting the wheels in motion, and we'll really start it to kind of kick into gear in 2019 up to 2021. And the responses have been pretty good as well. We spoke to Talal Al-Diaby, the Chief Executive Officer of Aldar. Now, he told Construction Week, Jack, and I'll read the full quote. "The review of building regulations for infrastructure, industrial, residential and commercial properties will help reduce costs for citizens, residents and investors, as well as support the urban development of Abu Dhabi." So that's a really interesting aspect of the Gadan 2021 development strategy. It's a review of building regulations, making the terms kind of slightly less onerous on companies, maybe reducing some of the bureaucracy and red tape that companies have faced, improving the ways in which companies can get buildings off the ground, which should be super exciting. There's also the Tajir Abu Dhabi Gold package, which will allow companies to obtain business licenses without taking office space, which obviously makes long-term residency in Abu Dhabi easier and more attractive.
No, absolutely. I think being able to initiate a business and for the Emirate to retain that business as well is a really crucial step. Commercially, absolutely. Yeah. And again, going ahead, IMCAN's Chief Executive Officer also told Construction Week that, again, kind of mirroring what Aldar was saying, that it's a really strong step towards, again, stimulating investment and further enhancing the quality of life for Abu Dhabi's residents and visitors, which hopefully will pick up following this move.
I mean, certainly will, and you see what the chief executives of Aldar and IMCAN have both said. They're of course very supportive of the policy, and it's no doubt that it's going to be something that benefits Abu Dhabi moving forwards. But of course, it's not the only major kind of legislative or economic change that we saw in the last week. Of course, you had the visa reforms, which I think is a really, really important transformation, of course, allowing expats to retire in the UAE, an unprecedented move for the country.
No, absolutely. But there are some kind of, it's not it's not applicable to all expats, Oscar. Well, for one, age is obviously applicable, given the retiree age, 55 and older. And the visas will span 5 years, with a possibility of renewal. And again, all subject to requirements, Oscar.
Of course, and some of those are kind of financial as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you have to hold investment in property worth 2 million AED, which in today's exchange is 544,000 US, and have financial savings of worth no more than $272,000, or have an active income of no less than $5,444, which is 20,000 AED a month. So those are the kind of requirements that 55-year-old expats will need to meet.
But you can see the benefits to the economy, can't you, here, of allowing, as the number of expats in places such as Dubai and, of course, increasingly Abu Dhabi and the other Emirates increases. That's a significant chunk of cash that would leave the UAE economy if these expats, once they reach the age of retirement, are not able to retire and reside in the country post-employment. So actually allowing them to remain in the country can have kind of, presumably knock-on benefits to the healthcare sector, supporting hospitality, real estate, of course, the food and drink sector as well. There are a range of different areas. You can see, allowing these people to stay in the country longer will have a significant benefit for the economy.
No, I completely agree. And it's giving those who are retiring that age a lot more stability, particularly those who have families, those who have set up really stable roots here. They might consider a longer term future in the UAE, and that will, again, as you said, have a knock-on benefit to the economy, and particularly when we're looking at the property sector as well, maybe filling some of those houses that or that people won't be leaving, so those houses won't become empty, and it will continue to bolster that kind of part of the economy. I think, again, that's a really positive move.
Yeah, and I think, Jack, as well, there's been an outpouring of support for the project for the initiative, I should say, and actually talking about schooling as well is one of those important aspects. But Paul Kelly from Alsop and Alsop Operations Director said the move was another positive step in the right direction for the Dubai property market.
And again, he kind of echoed what I just said. Quote, "It gives a sense of security for those nearing retirement age and may encourage expats to put down more stable roots." And I think this is really an important point. Paul picked up on the fact that people may not look to Dubai as a short-term plan, but rather, a place that they can call home. I think that's quite a bold statement, and I think that could be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Of course, that kind of dovetails very nicely with previous reforms that have been made by the UAE cabinet earlier this year, when they announced a 10-year residency visa for people, highly skilled individuals in a range of different sectors, including innovation, healthcare, dentistry, engineering, technical services as well. So talking about making Dubai no longer a short-term option, a place where people can lay down roots, can feel secure and can feel like they can build a family here and stay here long-term is going to be really important for the longevity of a country such as the UAE, which continues to go from strength to strength.
No, absolutely, and it's also the UAE does rely on maintaining a certain population level, and I think if we're going down to the kind of the base kind of thinking around this, I think that's definitely a reason why they're looking to keep that population, because it needs to sustain itself, really.
Yeah, and Kelly, of course, he also touched on the money-making mindset that most expats have when they move to Dubai, seeing relocation to Emirates as a short-term plan before returning to the home country. So that could potentially reverse that mindset and allow people to use the money that they've accumulated here and the wealth that they've gained in the UAE and reinvest that into the economy.
No, absolutely. And that kind of, again, dovetails nicely into, what Sukha Rao, chairman of Dubai-based Gemini Properties, was telling us, Oscar, at Construction Week. Given those financial requirements that we touched on a little bit earlier, he believes that the rule will attract millions of dirhams into the UAE property market. And again, that could have an impact on property and help revive the real estate sector of the UAE, which I think we can all agree, and he agreed to, that it does need a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, of course. And of course, there has been some positive statements made about the recent reforms. But Mark Andrews from Langle Rookjack, who was on the front cover of Construction Week a couple of weeks ago, he's also spoken to Construction Week. And what did he talk about?
Well, Mark agreed that any move that could redress the kind of imbalance that we're seeing in the supply and demand in the UAE kind of residential market in particular, any move is a great one to redress that imbalance. But also he was, there was a little bit of cautious optimism when he was talking to us, Oscar. And while he agreed that it's a step in the right direction as the Dubai government looks to maintain its population and so on, that imbalance is still large, Mark said. And he said that he didn't see that changing anytime soon. But again, not being too pessimistic, he said keeping that capital and those with purchasing power here in Dubai will help, particularly as the emirate, as I touched on earlier, relies on its population to maintain itself. So he was positive, but again, there is still that imbalance that's there. But again, any move to address that is positive.
Yeah, and I think, you look at all of the reforms that have come out this year across Abu Dhabi, across Dubai, and across the UAE in general. All of this is about building and maintaining a long-term stable economy that can withstand the range of different market forces that can both be predicted and both cannot be predicted moving forwards. And of course, sustaining the Emirates moving forwards is going to be really key. So I think cautious optimism is a good point to end it on. So Jack, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Oscar.
You've been listening to the Construction Week Viewpoint podcast. Remember that we publish new episodes every Monday at midday. Please join us next week for another conversation about the built and natural world. And if there is something you would like Jack, myself, to look at, or the entire CW team, please do get in touch with us. We would love to hear your thoughts on how we can take the podcast forwards. But until then, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.